I've been now pursuing minimalism for quite a few years, and there were times and periods of this journey where I was really, really good at it. And I feel like now is a period in my life where I'm not so great at it. I do realize that I've fallen quite a lot back into the old consumerist patterns. And so today I wanted to make this video firstly for myself, but maybe there are also some of you who could benefit from this video. So this video, as the title says, is basically how to escape consumerism. I know how to do it, I just need a reminder every now and again. So let's just dive right into it. So the first thing that's really important is to change your mindset. I know a lot of people mostly only concentrate on the decluttering of stuff, having less stuff, but the mindset is also so important. If you only tackle your stuff, but your mindset is still in that consumer state, you will just keep purchasing more and more, and you won't tackle the issue by the root. So first things first, get comfortable with less. We have been told this lie that we need this much stuff, and we kind of use buying things as like a safety blanket to soothe our worries, to find joy in life, to even feed our ego. But there's this thing called hedoning adaptation, and that basically means that as humans, we are really good at getting used to stuff. And when it comes to buying things, that just means that we will always want more and bigger and better. And even if we think in the moment, okay, let me just get this one more thing, then everything will be perfect. That's a lie you're telling yourself, because you will get used to it and then you will be back in the circle of wanting to buy more stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, this is the part where I'm also calling myself out, as I said at the beginning of the video. But knowing this is already a huge step to changing something, to getting off that hamster wheel and pulling yourself out of this consumerist cycle. But this is the first step to make a change, to get off that hamster wheel, to stop chasing the next purchase and to get out of this consumerist cycle. Having less means having more freedom, more energy, more money, more time for things that help you grow, and more time for meaningful connections. And I think this is something that each of us wants. So now's the time to get uncomfortable. I think this is something that a lot of us are scared to. We want to be in a comfort zone, but sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone. That's where you grow, that's where we learn. And yeah, so get uncomfortable. Get rid of your stuff, have less stuff, feel how that is, how you feel with less stuff. Start slow, maybe do a challenge of owning less stuff. Learn about your triggers, your desires, your boundaries, your behavior patterns. Stop numbing yourself with the next best thing, the next purchase, and start to get uncomfortable. The only way out is through. Now, number 2 is really important, and that is to surround yourself with people and things that align with your value, or the values that you would like to have. Now, this is a big reminder for myself that you have to keep reminding yourself of minimalist values. It isn't a fix it once and then you're a minimalist in a sense, but you have to keep reminding yourself of values that are not consumerist. And I've said this many times before, but we are the average of the 5 people that we spend most of our time with. And this includes people we spend time with online, like you're doing with me right now, because these are all things that influence us, and we need to be really conscious of, does this person stand for values that I want to also have, or does this person have values that align with my values? Because slowly and surely these people do influence us with their values and their habits and their actions. So are you actively seeking out people that have similar values to you, or values that you might want? So for example, if you want to pursue less consumerist actions and values and more minimalistic values, then surround yourself with people who have similar values. Watch more documentaries or YouTube videos like mine, or friends that also are interested in a similar path. The next thing is to have an abundance mindset. Stop comparing yourself to other people. This is where we see the lack of that we have, things that other people might have or own that you also now want, and this is the expertise of marketing, where they show you issues that you didn't even know you had or feel like you had. This problem is now created, and they of course have the solution for it. If there's no problem, one will definitely be created and the solution will be presented to you to have and to buy. Designs, for example, change from season to season, because that way it will be really noticeable to everyone that you have last season stuff. And this is something also that is easily preyed upon, that you don't want to feel like you're left out, you're singled out, you're too different in a sense. But instead of focusing on everything that other people have that you don't have, start focusing on all the things that you do have. We often only see the lack of and not the things that we already have in our lives that enrich us. For example, for me, I really like to read, as you can see in my background, and I'm constantly seeing new books that I don't have, that I haven't read, but instead I could focus so much more on all the books that I already have, that I haven't actually read yet, that might not be the newest book or the trendiest book right now, but they're still good books that I could read. Oftentimes what we desire is not necessarily a new thing itself. Oftentimes we desire a breath of fresh air, and we can get that by kind of tricking our mind. So to, for example, rearrange your furniture in a way that is different, or mix and match your clothes in a completely different way, style things a different way, and that way it feels like something new, even though you just used things that you already have and arranged it in a different constellation. This can really help to give you back that sense of excitement that we do have with new stuff. And another tip is also to pay attention to the small things, the details of things. So maybe you have a table that you've had for ages and ages, and you've already gotten used to it. We've talked about hedonic adaptation, but if you try to look at it from a different light, to notice the small details, maybe the bumps and dents and patterns and nooks and crannies, or maybe seeing the table in a morning light and an evening light, and just try to notice the small details, you will find that you get this new sense of appreciation for the item, and you start to see it in a new light. And again, that brings that a little bit of that new sense of excitement. And it also really helps us to appreciate the stuff that we do have, and it helps us to cultivate this mindset of abundance. Number 4 is to be curious, to adopt the curious mindset of a child, to want to learn new things. Where do things come from? How are things made? And this can really help you to find your why. Why do you want to get out of consumerism or pursue minimalism? And you really need that strong why to motivate you through your journey, to something to come back to again and again, to remind you of why you're on this quest, so to say. The minimalism journey looks really different for every single person, so be curious about other people's journeys. You don't have to compare or emulate, but try to get inspired. Minimalism is a very personal journey. Everyone has different things that works for them, that doesn't work for them. And from these stories, you can pick and choose and try out things that might work for you, or maybe even find out things that don't work for you as well. Through this, you can also learn what comes easy to you, what is your weakness, what triggers your buying impulses, for example. And we essentially have to get to know ourselves on a more intimate level, to spend time with ourselves, know what type of emotions arise when, and what are some go-to responses that we have. It sounds a little bit silly, but it's kind of like watching ourselves as we would wildlife, to really observe and to learn small details of ourselves. Something I found really helpful for this is this app I've been using. It's called Livven. And at this point, I want to thank Livven for being the sponsor of today's video. Livven is an app that helps you learn more about yourself on your personal growth journey. You guys know I'm all about personal growth and learning more about yourself and tuning into yourself. It tracks your mood to gain more insight into potential patterns and gaining more emotional awareness. It has a routine builder, different soundscapes, and science-backed quizzes to explore your personality, your habits, and cognitive patterns. There's also an AI buddy called Livie that you can talk to about anything at any time. Short courses that help you to understand you, and also any behavior or cognitive patterns that you might have to help you to better tune into yourself. So as you can see, there's so much on the app to discover. My personal favorite are definitely the short courses that are like a gentle reminder to prioritize mental health and to be more aware of my thoughts and my actions. One specific course that really spoke to me talked about the importance of allowing yourself to rest. It's something that I really struggle with, and what tiredness might actually be trying to tell you, or what it might actually mean. It really asks you to go into yourself, to listen, to feel, and all in all, just to learn more about yourself so you can take on that next step and to grow. My other favorite is definitely the AI buddy Livie. I've talked to it now multiple times and was really able to help give me clarity on those issues. It felt to me kind of like journaling, but with really well-timed and intentioned prompts, and was also able to, in a sense, listen to me judgment-free, really compassionately, which helped me also to change my inner narrative to a more compassionate one as well. I think this app has a lot to give if you're someone that wants to build better habits and have more mental clarity and to know yourself better over time. So if all of this sounds interesting to you, make sure to check out the caption down below for more information. So now that we've gone through trying to change our mindset, now we can tackle our actions. First thing that I think is really powerful to know is that your shopping habit is a habit. And the way a habit is constructed is there is a cue, there is a craving, there is a response, and a reward. And the cue, for example, would be something that triggers the sense of wanting to buy stuff. So whether it's stress or boredom or maybe a sale, that occasion then triggers our wanting to buy stuff. So that is then the craving. Then the response would be that we would most likely go ahead and purchase that item, and the reward would be the happy feelings that we get from now owning this item. So what's really important for habits is that one step follows the other, and it's very hard to break the action in the middle. So once the cue or the trigger has set in, it is difficult to stop this motion of action from going on. So what's easiest is to actually avoid the cue or the trigger. So if you know that something that really triggers you is browsing online on any type of shopping website, then you know that is something that you need to avoid. Or maybe stress is something that really triggers your purchasing habits, then try to manage your stress. But if you do happen to already have had the trigger and are now in the craving phase of the habit, then try to distract yourself in the moment. So if you feel like you're super stressed and you now have this urge of wanting to buy stuff to reward yourself, then maybe go for a walk, go for a run, meet up with friends, try to distract yourself and pull yourself out of this thought pattern of I want to buy this, I want to buy this, I want to go on with the habit process. My next rule is to wait before buying. And this is something that I've also kind of lacked a little bit. In some areas I've still been really good, but in some areas it could have been better. So when I have the urge to want to buy something, I have the rule to wait at least 24 hours. So to think about, does this really make sense? The purpose is to detach myself from the emotions. So this craving of wanting to buy stuff is mostly a super emotional response. And the longer we wait, the better we're able to separate our emotions from the situation. Oftentimes I even wait even longer than a day, often days or even weeks before I reconsider whether I truly want to purchase this. And it's something that has really helped me and saved me from a lot of impulse buys that would have been super unnecessary. Of course, there were instances where this didn't help that much, but I feel like for me personally, it is something that is super effective and really simple. Of course, what is also super important is to be patient, be kind to yourself. All this takes time and practice. With time, you will get to know yourself better, to know what triggers you, what helps you in certain situations. But you need to keep up with the process like I haven't done. So I'm the prime example of what happens if you lose yourself out of the process of keeping up with all the steps that I mentioned. So surrounding yourself with people that have similar values, to be curious about other people's journey, to keep the anti-consumerist messaging with me. It's like in a relationship, you have to keep putting in the work to upkeep and maintain the relationship. And with so much consumerist messaging that we do get, we have to kind of counteract it with values that are important to us. If we don't do anything and the only messaging that we get is this consumerist messaging, that is the way that we will drift in a sense. So we do kind of have to counteract that with very conscious choices that we make. So people that we follow, things that we read, information that we look up. And I think this is a critical point where I haven't kept up for a while. And this is something that I want to, with this video, also remind myself to get more back into. So especially reading more minimalistic books and watching documentaries and reminding myself of why this is important to me, why I want to continue to pursue this. And number 4 is kind of like a little bit of a bonus tip that is helpful, and that is to have an accountability partner. So for me, that is my partner Johannes, and it just makes things so much easier when you're in moments of doubt and moments of weakness. You can turn to this accountability partner and ask them to help you out, maybe to distract yourself if you're just in this really emotional state of wanting to buy something that kind of deep down you know doesn't really make sense, or you're so clouded by the excitement of this potential new thing that you need someone who can stay a bit more rational and maybe walk you through this, or at least help you wait out a 24-hour period to then reconsider. And it's someone you can talk to who knows what you're going through, who's going through similar things, and you can help each other out in both ways. And also it just makes the journey more fun when you can share it with someone else as well. So if you ever need an accountability partner, someone to go through the journey with you, always feel free to message me on my Instagram. I'll leave it here so you know where to go and where to find me. So I hope that these points were helpful to you. They were definitely a super helpful reminder for me to kind of walk myself through all these points. If you want to let me know something about your minimalism journey, I always love to hear your stories and your views and your paths. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I truly, really appreciate it. And again, thank you to Livven for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to check out the caption for more details. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.